Pastor Ed here with Daily Devotions for Saturday, January the 27th, 2024. We're looking at 2 Corinthians 4, that verse 7, that we have this treasure in earthen vessels, so the extraordinary, we see that the extraordinary power doesn't belong to us, but only comes from God. Yesterday I ended up talking a little bit about Pope John the 23rd. One of the things about him was that he called together that Vatican Council, but he did not live actually long enough to see it through its completion. He died in 1963, but his impact on the church, not just the Catholic Church, is really still being felt today, 60 years later. Seattle was a Native American chief of the Suquamish tribe, who later became chief of the Duwamish Confederacy, a tribal alliance. As a young chief, Seattle was a skilled military strategist, was involved in many intertribal disputes, conflicts, including open warfare. However, in 1848, after the death of one of his sons in a battle against a rival tribe, he and his remaining children received baptism in the Roman Catholic Church near Olympia, Washington. His conversion to Christianity marked his emergence as a leader who sought friendship and cooperation with the American settlers. Chief Seattle realized that the advance of the powerful and numerous settlers could not be stopped, and his own conversion to Christianity marked the end of his fighting days. And he then began the practice of leading morning and evening prayer in his tribe, a practice that continued after his death in 1866. And as you might have guessed by now, the city of Seattle, Washington, was named in his honor. And then there's more heroes, countless heroes of the faith. Here's three that were all monks from the British Isles, pillars of the faith who kept the light of learning and devotion going during the so-called Dark Ages. The first, named Columba, was an Irish abbot and missionary credited with spreading Christianity in what is today Scotland. In all, he founded 3 monasteries, including one on the island of Iona off the coast of Scotland, which became a dominant religious and political institution in the region for centuries. He died in the year 597 at the age of 75. The second hero of the faith from the British Isles that I want to talk about is who died in 651, was named Aidan. He helped bring Christianity to the Northumbria area of England, was known for his pastoral style, his ability to stir people to charity and good works. During his years as a missionary, Aidan was responsible for the construction of churches and monasteries and schools throughout Northumbria. And at the same time, he earned a tremendous reputation for his pious charity and dedication to the less fortunate, such as his tendency to provide room and board and education to orphans, and his use of contributions to pay for the freedom of slaves. It was later written of Aidan, he was one to traverse both town and country on foot, never on horseback, unless compelled by some urgent necessity. And wherever in his way he saw any, either rich or poor, he invited them, if infidels, to embrace the mystery of the faith, or if they were believers, to strengthen them in the faith, to stir up by words and actions to alms and good works. Well, these words describing Aidan were actually written by the third of our heroes of the faith that I wanted to mention this morning. His name was Bede. Often he's referred to as the Venerable Bede. Bede was a Bible translator and scholar of the Scriptures. He wrote a history of the English Church entitled Ecclesiastical History of the English People. He was also the first historian to date events Anno Domini, AD, or in the year of our Lord. Bede is also known for his hymns, including the text for a hymn of glory, Let Us Sing. He died in AD 735. But in reading about Bede, there was one quote attributed to him that really caught my attention and encapsulates, I think, the whole point of that reading that we had yesterday and focusing on again today. It also captures the essence of these people that I've been talking about yesterday and today. The Bede is often quoted as saying, I was no longer the center of my life, and therefore I could see God in everything. I was no longer the center of my life, therefore I could see God in everything. It reminds me of something a classmate of mine in graduate school used to say to us. He was an Episcopal priest, and his name was Ed Cromie. In fact, whenever one of our professors would ask a question or ask one of us to read, he would begin Ed Crow, and I would always sit up straight in my seat, not know if he was going to complete it by saying Ed Crow me or Ed Crow pa. Well, anyway, my friend Ed Cromie once told us that there's a saying in the Episcopal Church that goes something like this: when a priest gives up trying to become a bishop, he finally becomes a good priest. In other words, whenever an Episcopal priest finally gives up the dream of becoming a bishop with all the power and authority and attention and notoriety that goes along with it, only then can he or she finally focus on the work and calling of parish ministry and to be a true servant of the gospel. As the Venerable Bede once said, when I was no longer the center of my life, when my own goals and desires were no longer my sole focus, then and only then could I see God in everything, and therefore begin to focus on others and on the world outside of myself. Well, in wrapping up, that gift that John the 23rd, Chief Seattle, Columba, Aidan, and Bede all shared, despite the many and obvious differences between them, was that they all, in their own unique way, no longer saw themselves as the center of their own lives. Instead, there was someone and something, a cause far greater than themselves. That someone was Jesus Christ, and that cause was the spreading of the gospel. And in response, each of these men then devoted their lives entirely to Christ and the gospel. Ordinary men who did extraordinary things, not because of who they were, but because of who God is, because of the power of God working in and through their lives. An example, dare I say, that you and I can probably learn from. For we do not proclaim ourselves, we proclaim Jesus Christ as Lord, and ourselves as your slaves for Jesus' sake. It's not about us. Well, we're going to end there this week. Hope you can join us for worship tomorrow morning. As always, 9 o'clock traditional service, 11 o'clock contemporary service, both live stream, both then available to watch online on our YouTube channel. And I'll be back with you on Tuesday for another week of daily devotions. Until then, take care. Bye.